Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Two Witches Talking. Hi, Megan.
Hello, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm loving your witchy vibe today. You just it's good stuff.
I do. And I didn't even realize, we decided we were going to be talking about deities and goddesses today.
Yep.
And I didn't even think about the fact that I'm wearing my Morgan Le Fay earrings.
It's
Um,
amazing.
it's just, I'm in a black and white, my pants are striped black and white. So I went black and white with the toppers
Nice.
and then the earrings and didn't even realize that these were my Morgan Le Fay earrings. So
They're perfect. I am in blue with my Moldavite and something else pendant that Mike got me for Christmas and my black shorts because it is 101 today already. Yeah.
you've surpassed us. We're only at like
Yep.
96, and actually
Yep.
we dipped back down into the high 80s for this week, but we were at like 96 last week.
Yep.
I thought Tucson was the portal to hell, and I did not realize Texas is hotter than Tucson.
Yeah. And you've been here, so you know how humid it is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't know how your hair lives. It's like
It's there. So I used to straighten my hair out, if you can believe it. And it's just, it goes everywhere. And I just let it do its thing now. So, because it's too much to try and fight it. It's just
yeah.
nuts. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to fight it. But yeah, we're 101 degrees today. So I'm in as few articles of clothing as possible to still be, presentable and, things are covered up. Because I have to go to the grocery store later. So, you got to put a bra on and stuff.
I feel you. Yeah.
Just one of those things. But yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, so today we're talking about goddesses and our goddesses and working with deities and all that. And you were mentioning it's a pretty hot topic in the Ink Spirit Coven.
It
And
is. It's
yeah.
gotten so big that I started a new space for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because even when we did Sacred Space this week, we had a lot of people really connecting over, goddesses that they have in common and stuff. And then I was like, you know what? We've had so many questions lately about goddesses and deities. I was like, would it be helpful for me to start a space in Circle for that? And everyone was like, yes, please do that. So
Nice.
yeah, we even have like a deity talk space now because it is really a hot topic with a lot of people.
Yeah.
People asking about certain goddesses or certain deities, or even how to figure out like who to work with, or if somebody is trying to contact you to work with them, as far as deities reaching out. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. And I've seen it like all over TikTok, all over Instagram, like YouTube videos that even pop up with, it's like who's your deity or who's calling out to you. There's a gal that I love watching. You usually just see her hand and she's got this selenite dish and she's got one of the fortune coins that was in one of the boxes a while ago. Have you seen her videos?
mm-mm.
Yeah, she spins her little coin in her dish and like she started doing like who's your divine protector, your deity protector. And so just using the coin, doing divination, finding out people's divine protector. And for a lot of folks, there were gods and some were goddesses. And there were actually a few people that have dragons as protectors, which I thought was really cool. I know. So yeah, I'm seeing all this all over the place. So it's just really fun to see.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that.
I know, right? It's
Yeah.
so cool.
I
Yeah, so
wonder
when
if
did
it has to do. I was gonna say, I wonder if it has to do with the just I don't know, the way that the state of the world right now. Just
I think so.
people wanting connection. They're wanting something bigger. They're wanting something, which I think is
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Um, and again, the resurgence of witchcraft. We can go back into that. I mean, I love it, but I
honestly.
definitely seeing it as a trend, not in a bad way. A trend
Mhm.
as in the energy is heading in that direction, or the energy is opening up around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that, yeah, like y'all go back and listen to a few episodes ago, the rise in witchcraft. But I also think that it's looking beyond the establishment, right? It's like mainstream religion is very male dominated. And so it's like, what are the other options? And, you know, I always love to quote the Bible verse that's like, you know, you'll have no other gods before me. It's like that says and implies then that there are other gods, right? And you know, I think it's really interesting that people are trying to look beyond the kind of bounds of standard religious practices, and they realize that there really are these entities and spirits around, and gods and goddesses around that are like, heck yeah, I want to hang out. Let's work together. Let's do the thing. And then we've got the rise of the divine feminine, right? So all the Magdalene priestesses are coming out, and the priestesses of Hecate, and I'm seeing a lot of Hestia lately, which is really cool. Hestia, the Greek goddess of the hearth, right? And like the only goddess that Zeus was like, I'm not touching, I'm not messing with, like whatever she says goes. Basically, from what I understand, the only Greek goddess that basically all the other deities love and will protect and don't have beef with, because you know, hey, there's some infighting in that house.
Yeah, especially the Greek and Roman pantheons.
Oh my God, I know.
So much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like we see a little bit of that fighting in like the Egyptian pantheon, but like it's like Days of Our Lives with the Greek and Roman. Yes. It's like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
I just love it. It's so funny. Well, so when did you start getting into like goddesses and stuff? And like before I think we step into that, want to share the disclaimer that it's like you can be a witch and not work with deities.
Yeah.
It's a separate practice. Witchcraft is a practice. It's much like Buddhism. It's a practice, not a religion. But if you want to work with deities, a lot of us do. And both you and I work with deities often. So,
yeah, I had the first one. So I was in England. So I was probably 21 years old. Up until that point, I had only read Wiccan books. So I was understanding of divine feminine and divine masculine energy. So like a goddess and a god, you know, and as far as just like energy embodiment. But I never, the whole divine masculine thing, I don't know. I just never really resonated with that. So for me, it was just like divine feminine energy. And it wasn't until I had a crazy dream one night about a woman on a white horse that came to me in a forest, and she said, come with me. And we rode horses through the woods very fast, to the edge of a lake or a body of water where there was like little waves. And then she stopped and she said, you're home now. And I was like, that was cool as shit.
Wow.
So didn't think anything of it because, again, I was very new to paganism, to witchcraft, like all of that kind of stuff. And so I just happened to be telling this dream to a group of my pagan friends in England, and somebody goes, oh, that was Rhiannon. And I was like, what, excuse me? Pardon me? Who? And they were like, that's Rhiannon. She's, you know, she rides a white horse, which, you know, in England, because Rhiannon is a Celtic, but like a Welsh goddess. So, you know, very much they know all about, like there's mounds in England and Wales that are devoted to Rhiannon. So it just very matter of factly like, oh, that was Rhiannon. She came to you. And I was like, what? So that was my first introduction. I dove into Rhiannon at that point, which then found out that she was one of the goddesses of many of the Avalonian tradition branches. And so that, reading upon the Avalonian tradition, I was just like, well, this feels right. This is me. I'm home. Like, I seriously am home. And that was my first introduction into working with a deity. I think I set up a little altar to her, or just like an Avalon altar in general, but it had like horse imagery and stuff like that. because she is associated with horses, and she is still, she and I had a talk this morning. Like, she's still one of my my matron goddesses, 20 years later.
So cool.
She's still, I had pulled some cards this morning, and one of them was the horse card, which came up yesterday. And so I was like, when you have the same card come up 2 days in a row, you're like, and then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I am so sorry, Rhiannon. Because, the day yesterday when the horse card comes up, I wrote down, I looked in the little book, because this was my Wisdom of Avalon deck, and I looked in my book and I was like, okay, this is what the horse symbolizes, and wrote it all down. And then when it came up today, I was like, why am I getting the So I apologized to her. Yeah. I was like, okay, let's go into meditation. I will meet you in my little sacred space.
Yeah.
And she dropped some bombs on me that I was like, okay, cool. That now, today, even, I texted you a little while ago. I'm like, well, she knew what was coming today. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the wild thing. Yeah, my first, I got really, it's so funny, I got really hyper fixated and a little obsessed with Athena in 5th grade. We were doing a whole Greek gods unit, and we had to do little presentations. We got to use the projector, which was super cool in school. Oh yeah. And I had traced this picture of Athena on a transparency so that I could put it up, and all these things. And I just felt so drawn to her. And I didn't really start working with her. I kind of want to say I haven't really formally worked with her ever, but her energy has always been very easy for me to embody. And I have a lot of preferences that align with her correspondences and her energy. And so I've got an Athena spray, and I've got little owls and all that. And so her energy has always been with me. But I really didn't start working with goddesses until it was a couple of years ago. It's actually fairly new to me, because I had all of this old religious baggage I had to just work my way through. And kind of deprogram myself from a lot of it, quite honestly. And I remember I actually told you about my dream about Persephone, because I kept seeing, so before that, I had developed a relationship with Inanna, and who is a Babylonian goddess, this very, very old goddess. And I just became enamored with her journey down to the Underworld, and just that whole process. And she's always been a very loving, comforting energy for me over probably the past 10 years. So I take that back. So it's been about 10 years. And the way she emerged is I just kept seeing her name and books about her, and people would talk to me about her, or that would be their chosen name, all these things. But it was when I really I kept seeing a lot of stuff about Persephone online, and I was like, is this just the algorithm feeding me things? What's up? So I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to get real witchy, and we're going to say, okay, Persephone, if you're wanting to work with me, if you're wanting me to work with you, send me something in my dreams so that I know. Girlfriend delivered. When I tell you, it was having never done hard drugs in my life, it is what I imagine a trip would be like, because I specifically asked, I'm like, send me an image of a pomegranate in my dreams and I'll know it's you. I got pomegranate all over, and I her face came through, and it's all this mist, and it was dark, and there was black birds, and I woke up and I was like, okay, here we go. Now let's do this. And that was about a year or two ago, and it has shifted how I work with deities, and my group of deities has grown to actually include a couple of gods at this point too, which was surprising to me. Yeah. But you know what I did? I put all of them into Chat GPT, and I was like, could you compare, contrast, what are all the commonalities? And it was all these deities all work together. They all make sense. I was like, oh. And it was all about underworld stuff, the darkness, the depths, psychopomp stuff, cycles, all these things. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if like, you know, that's a fun tip to share with folks, is that if you're getting like, if you feel like there's gods or goddesses that are coming to you and they conflict, put it into ChatGPT and just be like, is there a conflict here? Do these work together? And it helps.
Yeah.
You feel less crazy.
Yeah. I have the other goddesses, well, the ones that I currently work with, currently would be Rhiannon has a statue on my so I have two altar. I have 17 altars, but I was have
say
like let me not even lie. I have altars all over my house. I have altars here. I have several altars at the office. It all depends. Okay, so I at home in my sacred space, I have my Avalon altar, which has Rhiannon and Bridget. I realized that every year at the same time, usually starting around end of December, but really around the end of January, I really started to get motivated. And it took about 3 years before I think I was, again, having a casual conversation with someone and was like, oh my God, I get so motivated. And it's like, almost like someone's kicking me in my ass every year around, you know, the end of January. And they're like, that's Bridget. And I'm like, what? Who? What? So diving down into Bridget, she's, you know, the goddess of inspiration, motivation. She's a fire goddess. So she has a space on my Avalon altar as well. And then Morgan, so I worked with the Morrigan for a while because I woke up one morning and our entire backyard was covered in ravens. And it was it was very weird. So of course you look up ravens and goddess, and the first one that usually comes up is the Morrigan. And so I began working with her, and she was preparing me for a fight. I ended up in a legal thing with another business, a big business that I was like, oh, this is why the Morrigan came into my life. Yeah. But after that, I tried to foster a relationship with her, and there was a disconnect. And even while I was working with her, with her help through this legal battle, there was just always a disconnect. It almost seemed like we were just slightly askew from one another. And so it was then presented to me, like Morgan Le Fay was presented to me as a goddess. And that's where my brain fried. So because I'm like, okay, Morgan Le Fay is not a goddess. She's a mythical character from the Arthurian legend. So she can't be a goddess. And that's where you almost have to throw all the norms, all the shit in your mind that tells you, oh, this can't happen. Just honestly throw all of that out if you're going to be a witch. There are no can'ts in witchcraft.
Yeah. It's true.
So once I started diving into Morgan Le Fay, her symbols are raven, cauldron, magic, transformation. She is also a shapeshifter. So in a deep meditation one night, like very deep meditation, I was like, am I going crazy? Like, because at this point I still had a Morrigan altar up.
Yeah.
And I really felt insane, you know? Yeah. And I was like, and so she came to me, Morgan Le Fay came to me as the Morrigan, as I had been noticed the Morrigan. And she shapeshifted into herself, into Morgan Le Fay. And she said, I am a shapeshifter. I came to you in the form that you would recognize me and you would honor me, like, because I needed to work with you.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I came to you as myself, you would you wouldn't understand. You weren't there yet.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because like yard full of ravens.
Right.
I understand the Morrigan. I'm going to accept the Morrigan. But even when Morgan Le Fay started to be presented to me as a goddess, I immediately rejected it. I was like, oh, this is wrong. There's something wrong with this. I can't have a relationship with a mythical person. you know,
Right.
like a mythical
Right.
story. And so she was like, yeah, but now you get it. And I'm like, yes, now I understand. And now the Morgan altar came down, Morgan Le Fay altar went up. I connect with her like just so many levels.
Yeah.
And then over the years too, I had this very soft, divine feminine energy that was coming in. I had people tell me, you have a new goddess trying to work with you. And I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm at capacity. Thank you.
Yep.
And then she like Persephone for you, she started popping up random conversations, random podcasts I would be listening to. And that's how I sat there and I was like, Mary Magdalene, are you kidding me? Like, that's a Christian deity. What is going on here?
Right. Right.
So again, I had to shed
Yeah.
the preconceived notions of her being a Christian deity. Shed all of that, and when I let her in, she's here to help me embrace my divine feminine energy, have a little bit more compassion. But she's also, which a lot of people, when they hear this, they're like, what? She's very sexual. Holy crap. And you're like, what? And for those that don't, if you're like, what? So Mary Magdalene is not a prostitute as she was painted in the Bible. It is actually believed she was Jesus's wife. And she is the one that healed him after the crucifixion. She was a master healer, but she worked with oils and herbs and resins. So it is believed that she was the one that dressed his wounds because he was not dead. After he was crucified, he was just very weak, almost dead. She dressed his wounds in the cave. That's what made him, so he never died and came back to life. But that they went on to have children and do their thing as they, you know, they left like, okay, you people tried to kill me. I'm going to go ahead and head on my way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is basically Jesus's wife. And, you know, when you start to dive down into the lore behind her, that again, you just have to shed, you get to a point, I think, where you just have to shed everything that you thought you knew about religion and get to the energy behind all of it. So at the moment, that is who I work with. I have Rhiannon and Mary Magdalene and Bridget on my Avalon altar. And then as Morgan Le Fay is known as the Queen of Avalon, she has her own little altar off to the side.
I love that. I love that. Well, mine is, it's kind of similar. So I've been working with Inanna for a long time. Like I said, I actually have my candle to her going back here. But I also have a Persephone candle there as well. And so Persephone came through big time. And then after that, I want to say it was Hecate, which I was like, there's this part of me that, and I think it's interesting, but there's this part of me that's like, really? I feel drawn to the goddess that's everywhere on TikTok and all these things, right? And I'm just like, am I a witch talk girly? I'm like, no, I don't think I am. And then I started digging into it, and it's been so funny because it's like sometimes I have this hesitation, like, really, is this who I need to be working with? And then I started digging into it, and not so much. She gets a lot of press for her being a goddess of witchcraft, which is great. But really, it's the crossroads and the journey and the psychopomp and the leader into the underworld. And I was like, okay, so I've been working with Persephone. Now we're looking at Hecate, who is, you know, the one that moves between these places and has her own throne in the underworld, right? And I was like, okay, cool. And then I started diving in and doing some more work. And then Ereshkigal came through, who is Inanna's sister and the queen of the Babylonian underworld. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm seeing a theme here. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm like, Inanna's the softer version and kind of is more like Persephone, where it's like the both and, right? Where it's like you have kind of the maiden element, but you also have the queen element. Whereas Ereshkigal is like this, like, she will fuck you up and she is here to fuck things up for you. And so she came through recently when I was really I was struggling with a couple things. just kind of in my own self-transformation journey. And I'm like, okay, cool. And that's when the gods popped up too, is I did a pendulum reading and the card reading and all this. And all at once, I had Ereshkigal show up. I had Hermes show up, who is Mercury in the Roman pantheon. He's the psychopomp. He too, like Hecate, goes between the worlds, helps transport people. And then Poseidon. And I was like, what is... Poseidon's all about the depths and intuition and all. And I'm like, what? This is so crazy. And so I haven't worked a whole lot with the male deities because I think what they were there to do is to bang me over the head with it. And it just felt like anyone just like, here you go. And I've had both the Green Tara and Kali pop up to kind of support me in my, let's break shit down, let's make some new rules, like let's do it with love, but let's make some new rules. But I had a really cool experience. Like I said, Persephone just like opened it all up for me. I had a really interesting conversation with Aphrodite recently because I kept seeing a lot. And again, that like divine feminine, very sexy image, right? And I was like, didn't you and Persephone, like, did y'all butt heads? Or I feel like I saw something. And I heard this voice as clear as day in my head that goes, child, who told those stories? And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay. I'm like, I get it. Yep. Men told those stories. I got you. And I just thought that was the sweetest thing. And Bridget pops up periodically for me as well. Kind of in that, in the same season, along with Freya. Both Freya and Bridget will pop up in like January, February. And I think that's just me tuning into their energies more than anything. But I love that we can do that. Like we can just tap into those energies when we need to. So yeah, I've got this whole group of goddesses that are just like, we got your back. Let's do it.
I love that. I also I didn't know that you worked with, or you have had Hermes, Mercury pop up. Because at one point, this was years ago, I think I was reading something about Mercury being the god of business, small businesses.
Yeah.
And so I remember setting up a little altar in our old office. So that's how long ago this was. And putting a little Mercury card out and like a candle and like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, hey, we're a small business and, can you help? Oh my God, the absolute shit that happened in that. Oh my God. He was very like, nope. And I was like, okay. So it only took me about 3 days before I dismantled the altar and was like, because we had, for those 3 days, it was pure chaos and shitstorm. And, I don't know how I pissed him off. I guess because I wasn't even like asking anything of him. I literally just set up an altar and was like, hey, I'm a small business owner. So I, want to, start working with you on things, but, here's the altar, here's my offerings, I'm just going to leave it here. And he was like, fuck no. So then I was like, okay, because that does happen as well.
Yes.
If you try to force a relationship or something, either I've heard coven members talk about people just, deities just ignore you. And you're like, okay. Sometimes they'll be like, well, you want to work with me here. And then shit happens and you're like, okay, well, never mind. I'm so sorry to have pissed you off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually my last attempt to try and work with a male deity. I was like, I'm done. I'm not. Because at least with some of the female deities that I've worked with or tried to work with in the past, it's never been that. It's never been that amount of like, I don't remember what happened anymore. I just remember that for 3 days we had shit breaking and shit happening within the business and like all of these fucking explosions. And then I finally went back and I literally looked at my altar and I was like, I'm sorry.
Right.
I take it down. And I, just please stop the chaos. I apologize.
Right.
And I took it all down and like, just like that, the chaos ended.
Yep. Well, it's funny because I reached out to him a couple of years ago and I built like a little altar space and I was just like, hey, just want to give you a little altar, thanks so much. Communication, entrepreneurship is a big deal. Just ignored, like nothing. I'm like, okay, we'll just take it down. It's cool. And so it was really weird for him to pop up. But like I said, I really think that those two deities came through and were just like, no, will you freaking listen? Right? Like that divine masculine energy was like, we are like, they're serious. Listen to them. But from what I understand, a lot of people's interaction with Hermes/Mercury is that he's not like Loki, trickster god-esque, but he's a little tricky. He's a little trickster. So
can confirm.
Surprised. He's a little chaotic. So be careful, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just another one too. I have worked with Lilith. I have a like a relationship altar in our bedroom.
Yeah.
It's been there for years. We have a Lilith candle that I light on but I don't really. I have worked with Lilith in the past, but I wanted to bring her up just because she's doing a lot of calls lately. Oh my gosh! Just from not only seeing things in the coven, like threads in the coven, but the readings, the tarot readings I've been doing for customers lately. I think she's on. Well, I know she's on the rise. But she's doing some mass calling right now. So
really,
mass calling. So I don't know if she's raising like an army of just. I mean, it's all been women, that I've seen. And Lilith is extremely misunderstood. She was demonized by the Christian church. Literally made a demon. Just small crash course here because I know we're like at the 30-minute mark, but she was Adam's first wife, and she wanted to be equal to Adam, and Adam said, no, I want you to do exactly what I say, and she was like, fuck that. So she got thrown out of Eden. And that's where her story goes downhill because they demonized her, literally made her a demon. And she's all about female empowerment, female strength, sexuality, owning your sexuality, your sensuality, all of that gorgeousness. And yes, she's recruiting right now, apparently.
Wow.
So please keep in mind that she is a dark goddess. That's the first thing. She will help empower you, but it could she could strip away everything so that you understand your power. That's one of the things. But her symbols are an owl and snakes. So that's one of the things where a lot of people are seeing owls and thinking, oh, Athena, or they're seeing snakes. And is that an Inanna? Is that one of her symbols or no?
No.
Okay.
But it is. I've seen snakes attributed to Hecate. Snake in and of itself is just a divine feminine symbol too.
Yeah.
So
they are also highly associated with Lilith. And anything too from like the Garden of Eden. So apples, could be Avalon, could be Lilith. So just keep an eye out too for listeners out there. One of her main animals though is an owl. So if you happen to start seeing owls or they come up in conversation or something, look at Athena, but also look at Lilith, because if there's a deity calling to you, the minute that you find that research, like you make that connection of like that symbol to that goddess, you feel it. Like there's like it's like a clicking in place happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that too that a lot of times you just need to be open to the idea of working with a deity and they will come through. The times that I think Hermes is a great example here. It's like the times that you seek them out, you'll get ignored, or something crazy will happen, or I don't know, your candle bursts into flames on your altar, whatever, right? But looking out for those signs and just being receptive. So this is when like journaling comes into play. This is when your dream magic comes into play, and really just paying attention. Like, if you go for a walk, pull your head out of your phone, keep your headphones off maybe, and just look around and just pay attention to things. Because I had so many snakes crossing my path a couple of years ago, and I was like, what the heck is that? And so that was a sign that the divine feminine was rising in me, But that's good to know that Lilith she's up to some work.
She definitely is.
I love that.
Respect is like one of the key words to working with deities. You have to respect them. You're basically forming a relationship with them based on respect. So you can't go into it immediately asking for things as well. That's a fun little, people think, oh, well, I'm going to set up an altar to Aphrodite so that she can help me find the love of my life. And it's like, oh, if you're going to go into it with that, immediately wanting something, like, how does that make you feel? Like, deities are energy. They're symbols. They help awaken this energy within you. So whether you view them as real human beings that you are working with, or whether you're viewing them as aspects of yourself that you're opening up, how would you feel if some stranger comes right up to you and immediately starts demanding shit of you? You'd be like, whoa, excuse me.
Exactly. Well, and it goes both ways too. One of the things that I started doing I do it with my deities, but I also do it with my spirit guides, my two main spirit guides, is I will just sometimes just tune in a meditation and just say, hey, I just wanted to connect. Is there anything you want? Is there anything that I can do for you? That sort of thing. And my two guides, they specifically wanted a piece of petrified wood set aside as their stone, and the other one wanted labradorite set aside as their stone. And so, like, they're up in my glass cabinet. Like, I don't work with them. That's their stones. But every time the deities are just like, no, this is great, thank you. And it's just like, we have been trained, and this goes beyond the Christian church, but like, we have been trained so many times as humans in a society to like have to supplicate ourselves before a deity, or have to set up a big ornate ritual or a big altar. I actually asked my goddesses recently, I'm like, do you want an altar? And they're like, no, I don't need an altar. It's okay. Like, you and your work are the altar. And I just thought it was also that very small voice, like when Aphrodite was like, who told those stories, and it's just like, no, you're good. Because we want to do that. We want to like show that we respect them and all that. But really, I think in most cases, it really is our actions and our choices and the conversations we have with them and the relationship we develop that are more important.
Yeah, mine love it when I just come and sit in Avalon.
Yeah.
And then their message for me just generally is like, ground down into Avalon every day. Like when you wake up in the morning, ground down into Avalon and we're good.
I love that. Yeah. It's really simple.
Yeah.
It's really simple. And we just want to overcomplicate it, or we feel like we have to, and we don't. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I love that. Oh, great topic.
This is so good. This was so good.
I know. So definitely comment below, these videos or on Spotify. Let us know who you work with. That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Okay, so it's me. I'm pulling a card this time.
Yes, ma'am.
No. We're going to go over here and... Oh, shit. Well, this is a good one.
All right.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm ready.
What is the most significant difference between the person you are now and the person you were 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
2020, height of pandemic. who were you and what is the most significant difference between the person you are now? And I think being able to freely leave our house without masks is not that.
That's not. Yeah.
No.
Well, so yeah, May 2020, I think things had been shut down for, I'm just looking at the date, things had been shut down for almost exactly 2 months at that point.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah. Because I just remember my son's birthday's on March 20th, and like March 20th was like about it.
Yep.
Yeah, let's close everybody into their houses at the beginning of Aries season. That sounds like a great idea. Anyway, all of that aside, I'm just being sassy. But I'm definitely way more spiritual. I'm definitely way more grounded. I was in the early stages of my burnout experience then, because my business was booming, because everything had gone online. So everybody and their dog needed to know like how to market online and how to connect with people and all that. So yeah, I was very much up here too. Like, so I was very ungrounded. I was overthinking everything. And I was working in a lot of that divine masculine energy, honestly, because I, like you, also have a lot of signs in masculine signs, and that just comes easily and naturally to me. And so anytime I am in a period of stress, I tend to double down into that divine masculine energy. And I have learned over the past 5 years that I need to double down into the divine feminine energy, because divine feminine is not passive, it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my big difference. What about you?
I would say 5 years ago, I did not know my own strength. I had actually come, so I think actually I had come out of at that point in 2020, I was out of my height of my anxiety. Mm-hmm. So I had overcome that, and so I was starting to understand my power. But no, the last 5 years, or especially the last year, has truly shown me how unique I am, and embracing that. So yeah. I think 5 years ago, I definitely hid my weirdness, a lot of it. And so this said, what is the most significant difference between the person? Oh yeah, no. I'm a lot more outspoken now. I'm a lot more, I give a lot less fucks. Yeah. A lot less fucks. I definitely know who I am more now than ever. And while I still have struggles daily with asserting who I am, and I recognize it a lot easier. Yeah. So I think that's at least the next step, is I recognize my desires and my wishes and my power and how I want things done. I recognize all of that. I'm still working on making sure I assert it more. But it's definitely that I definitely finally way more into my flow, which is always, it's been my keyword for years. Like, I just want flow in my life. I definitely have hit that, and it's been because of embracing the divine feminine more and getting out of the divine masculine. And even now, just like you, like I've had so many meditations in the last week or two where they're like, stop getting in your head, drop down into your body, drop down into your divine feminine, drop down into your sacral womb space, your cauldron of creativity, drop down into that, get out of your head, and things will flow more. And I'm like, all right, fine. Because then my default is divine masculine.
Yep. Oh, this reminds me, and then I'll shut up in a minute because this is long, y'all.
No, I love it.
But I know we both seen Sinners, and there's a couple of scenes in it where it's just very obvious that the women are walking with very loose hips. And I saw a TikTok And it was this gal talking about hip switching, and she's like, who grew up and as a little girl, you know, her mom or grandma or somebody said, just quit swinging your hips or whatever. And I'm like,
Yep.
Me? I've had all kinds of hip issues and lower back issues because of my hips. And she was like, you need to switch your weight on both feet. Like, we're built differently than men. We need to have this back and forth. And so I started doing this last week, and I've got a very energetic puppy. She's like 60 pounds. She's strong enough that when we would be walking, she would kind of pull me forward sometimes, especially if I wasn't paying attention. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this hip switching thing, right? And at first, like, I had to force myself. So I'm like really like doing this, and it looks awkward and it feels awkward. But I noticed right off, my center of gravity switched to my hips in that cauldron of creativity. Suddenly, she can't pull me along on the walk because I'm not trying to use my strength up here, which is where male bodies have all the strength. I've got the strength down here. And I'm like, oh, you know what else is cleared up? My lower back pain. I'm like, oh, okay. So I highly recommend, if you're trying to get into that divine feminine, to do this experiment where you let your hips sway and you take up space and you let your divine feminine flag fly and see what happens, because my posture's been better, my strength has increased, and I feel better about who I am. And the fact of the matter is if I'm at the grocery store or on a walk and a man is being weird and gross, he's going to be weird and gross anyway. So me holding myself in is not going to prevent that. I'm just hurting myself. So yeah, there's a little tidbit for you.
So much deconditioning we have to do, especially for those of you listening from the South.
Mm-hmm.
So much deconditioning. We will help you. We will help you. And the world will help you, apparently, because Lilith is on the rise, and I love it.
And you know her hips swish and sway. You know it.
So much.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in and sticking with us a little bit longer this week. You can find us online at Two Witches Talking on Instagram. We are also at twowitchestalkingpod@gmail.com. Please send in your witchy confessions, your witchy stories. We'll keep your name anonymous. We'll make sure not to give away any private information, you know. But we do like to read those on the air. And you can find us on Patreon as well. Just Two Witches Talking. And if you go to the Inked Goddess Creations YouTube channel, you can find us under podcasts there as well. So swing by, say hi, send us your stories or your inquiries. If there's a subject too that you'd like us to talk about, something you've always wondered about, let us know. And thanks so much for being here.
Yep. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff too.
Yes. Thank you. And until next week, we will chat with you later, and sending you all the blessings, all the magic, and stay magical, y'all.